Coffee, am I right? Yo, my name is JD and welcome back to the Console Gaming Channel. We're button mashers, thumbstick bashers, and here to have a good time playing video games. Elden Ring. This game just proved that next gen still isn't quite there yet. Now, the 60 frames per second that you're lucky to get if you're on a Series X or a PlayStation 5 is the top end of the performance you're going to get on those systems, and you're also going to get 4K up paired along with that. Now, something that I want to reiterate is that there's been a promise that a lot of us have been holding on to since the beginning of this 9th gen. That is 4K, 120 frames per second. Now, I know I have talked about it so many times and I've pretty much put the last nail in the coffin, but this game reminded me of something very, very important. First and foremost, the gaming industry is always pushing us further and further down the line of the latest and greatest. Hey, you gotta get this, you gotta get that. It's gonna make your experience out of this world and you're simply just going to be blown away. Now, I've been blown away multiple times by the performance of something as simple as the Xbox Series S, and replaying games I've already finished on my Nintendo Switch OLED have been so mind-blowing because the colors are absolutely gorgeous. Now, that being said, I'm still waiting on these performance upgrades or these performance promises that we've been reading on boxes and been told online. And for the most part, they're just not there. In some instances, we're experiencing the performance, but really, we're not quite there yet. So this idea of missing out, as we've talked about before, don't worry about it. Now, with Elden Ring, this game has been released on the big boys. It is on the Xbox, the PlayStation, and the PC, going as far back as the PlayStation 4 and as far back as the Xbox One. You're able to play these games on these systems. And as far as PC requirements, you're gonna have to go and find that on another channel because we're the Console Gaming Channel. But what I want to hit home is that this game, even on the nextest of gens console, currently PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X as well as S, still isn't hitting those performance numbers. Now again, I don't have the consoles that I need to do this firsthand, so I rely on research from people who have done it. And upon watching multiple videos with FPS trackers and FPS monitors on the exact game itself, being able to monitor it through the actual port and truly pulling the information that we need, I'm looking at a dynamic, fluctuating FPS of anywhere from 45 to 60 from the big boys. We're still not getting that 120, and that's in performance mode. You get down to quality mode and we're struggling to reach 40 frames per second. Granted, it's a little bit better than 30, but that's interesting nonetheless. I think it's really important that we look at this because it is such a breath of fresh air, and that breath is we're still not there yet. And that's okay because it lets us do something very, very special. Rely on the game to give us the experience that we need. Now, it is unavoidable to hear the words Elden Ring is the best game of 2022 everywhere. Every single person is saying it. I'm not gonna say it because I haven't beaten it and I've only logged about a dozen hours of the game. But I will say this, what this game offers us as gamers is an experience that is somewhat nostalgic. Now, it is a next-gen game. We do have this game new in this era of gaming, and it is one that is pretty impressive. But what I mean by a nostalgic feel is it is a game that drops you right after the basic tutorial of what your attacks are and how you move your character around in a world that is actually seemingly impossible to get through. I mean, right between you and the first point you have to actually figure out how to get to, there's not just a point on the map that you go in a straight line to and attack a bunch of enemies on the way that are your level. No, you have to figure out where to go based on having conversations with NPCs, and in between you and where you think you're supposed to be, there are seemingly impossible enemies to kill. I've died so many times. It is as frustrating as it is exciting. It creates an element of excitement, as I just said, in the game that I haven't felt in a long time. Demon Souls and games from FromSoft aren't games that I gravitate towards. In fact, I was gonna sleep on this game until I saw the 10 out of 10 reviews, and the reason why I decided to play it anyway is because I wanted to be a part of this historic event in gaming. This game has broken records when it comes to release reviews. I mean, no game has had this kind of positive reaction from all these platforms, and some of these platforms are notorious for being extremely negative. So I wanted to really see what is the hype about. I'm not sold on this game fully. I don't think that it is gonna land in my favorite games of all time, but I understand why it is getting these ratings. I think that we have something that truly is remarkable, and really the difficulty that lies within this game, though it isn't as difficult as Demon's Souls and its predecessors, is pretty powerful. And the fact that they brought in some of the greatest world building minds to get this going is also pretty exciting as well. Now, I think there are plenty of lessons to learn from Elden Ring and what they have done. They have taken an absurd amount of time to create this game. They've delivered a full game to us on our consoles. They've sold it to us at a fair price of $60, not $70, not a bunch of stuff behind paywall dollars. And most of all, they've provided us with a game that actually has enough content and difficulty to keep someone playing it for plenty of hours. Don't get me wrong, Metroid Dread is a great game, but that game was $60 for what ended up being 4 hours of gameplay, and unless you're a fan of that franchise heavily, that's a lot of money to pay for a 4 to 6 hour game, a 2D game. Yeah, I'd pay it for Zelda, but that's just because I'm a fan of Zelda. Guys, what do you think of Elden Ring? I think that we got ourselves something pretty special, and it's not because the game itself is good, though it is, it's because the game itself is actually reminding us what gaming should look like. It should be full, it should be tough, and it should be engaging. I'm so happy that this game came out when it did and how it did, because I have hope for the future if this is what gaming is gonna look like. Please feel free to subscribe to this console gaming channel. If you have console gaming needs, I'm the guy who's gonna help you fulfill those needs. That sounded weird. Keeping it in! Go ahead and like the video because that helps the world see it, but most of all, happy gaming.